Why did you choose to trust a random stranger on the internet to save your marriage?
Well, I had been looking for a long time. She told me a year ago, February, she wanted a divorce.
Oh, wow. That's a long time.
And I tried and struggled to figure it out. I even got another program, Husband Help Haven, which has a lot of really foundationally good information, but it doesn't go deep enough. And I even won her back in the summer. Like she came to me one day and says, I want to try again. And then we went into the garage and did business. And then I lost her again. So I mean, I've been down this road so much that I fear I might have really like screwed it up so much that it can't come back. Like I'm really feel that way.
Yeah.
But I came to the program because it just kept coming up because obviously, you know, algorithms and what I'm searching for, how to behave well as a husband, that kind of thing. And then I just binge watched everything you've got. I've probably watched every video you've got. And honestly, so I DoorDash in the evening now. Like I used to be a systems engineer. I'm sort of retired, and now on the weekends I sell licorice, which is an odd. Yeah, I've got a really weird, odd setup. But so you know, I just a lot of times I put your playlist on just to keep my confidence up, to keep from being in despair. You know, knowing that things can change or might change. You know, that kind of thing. Even like when it's that at the worst, because the course gives me more nuts and bolts information, more action item type stuff, where to focus my work, how to look at things, an understanding, which is really useful for me. Being an engineer, understanding things and how they work is very useful to me. Mm-hmm. So that was very helpful. But then your YouTube channel serves more of that need for encouragement. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that need to, sometimes you just need a boost in confidence or a boost in hope. So yeah, I go to your YouTube channel for hope. I go back to the course, and I've probably watched every video probably a dozen times each. I just watch them over and over again. I go through the program two ways. One, I methodically, especially the first 3 modules, just went through and did the exercises a couple at a time over a couple of weeks and really dug in. But at the same time, I just watched every video over and over again to internalize it. So it's sort of a double-pronged approach, which I know isn't exactly within the instructions, but it seemed to work for me.
If it works for you, it works for you, right? There's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing here. But
right.
So this back and forth nature with her has been going on for a while. And what did you initially do to win her back, to have that conversation in business in the garage? What was going on that you did positively first?
Well, I did the same thing. It was this thing called Husband Help is their main theme is the let her go mindset. Like learning to love unconditionally, giving her space, stop chasing. So like kind of like a little bit of what you're talking about with those crucial things you got to stop doing right away, but it wasn't in depth enough. Like it wasn't long lasting enough. Like as you fall back, because without the other foundational stuff of working on your subconscious reasons why you do that in the first place, you fall back into old patterns, which is what I did.
Right.
And so that falling back into old patterns is what really my Achilles heel. That's what really did it for me. And so the program, I first bought just a program without the coaching so I could go through the thing. And I was doing that for about 2 weeks and seeing some changes. I'd even given my first CLC report, which was very well received. She read it in front of me. Like I didn't even need to. I gave it to her and I went to my dad's house because my dad's 3 miles up the road. I go up to his shop and we do things in the garage and stuff. Yeah. And so I gave it to her with the expectation she could read it. And I told her that. So you can read it. You can tear it up. You don't have to read it. I don't need any. So because we sell licorice on the weekends. It's something that we have to, it's a forced interaction. We on Sundays all the time, but sometimes Saturdays, which this was the case. We load up the truck, put the daughter in the back, we head down and we set up in the morning and we're in this 10 by 10 booth selling licorice all day. And we're really good at it. And we always we get along really well during that. We never really not got along. Like,
sure.
And so we're getting in the truck and she and I'm passing her test because she's a little frustrated with my daughter and she like threw her jacket back at her because she wasn't paying attention to her. And I found it amusing. I found her little burst of anger amusing. And she's like, what are you laughing at? Why do you think it's so funny? Well, since when do you laugh? That kind of stuff. So sorry, thought it was funny.
Mhm.
And, she eased up and, so I'm passing little tests like this, right? And all halfway down to the thing, she opens up her book, she pulls out my CLC report and just starts reading it right there. So we're driving to the thing. And she
Oh,
asked me a question or two. She's getting all this from your course, which she's very well. She's becoming more open to it now, but she was very resistant to it in the
of
beginning.
course.
Like, what the hell even? Yeah, and then that was it. She went through it. When she got to the end, all she said was, "Well, it looks like you're on the right track," and she put it away. So yeah, she's really smart. But anyway, the reason why I got into the coaching is because 2 weeks in, one Sunday I had these dreams and I could see him in my dreams, this fucking leech coming to my booth and chatting up my wife because he saw that we weren't getting along well. And sure enough, shit comes to me like that. It's one of my talents in life, God-given talent, I believe. Truth is just not hidden from me. As a test engineer, I utilized it tremendously. I always got to the core issue. It's a talent of mine. And I woke up knowing she's talking to somebody. And so she gets out of the shower. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning because we're heading down to the market. She gets out of the shower. So you talking to somebody? You've been talking with somebody? And she looked at me and said, no. And I was like, you're lying right to my face. Like I knew it. And it blew up and it wasn't good. I didn't behave well in that moment at all. And it blew up and she drove a separate car for the first time. I drove in the truck. And by the time we got down there, I was able, because of the written course, I was able to get my composure and work things back. And then I ended up saving the confrontation and getting back to a neutral ground.
Mhm.
And thankfully. And so that's how I found out. And so the next day I'm calling up Al and I was like, I need to get the coaching and stuff. I need some support. So that's how I got into the full program.
Got it.
So it was stages.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. That's very descriptive in a good way. So I can see where you guys are at and where are things now after. Actually, before you answer that, Drayden, how long ago did you join the program? When was that point?
I'd say 2 weeks into January.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So
She's
about two.
been talking to him since basically New Year's Eve. I'm pretty sure that's the show that she met him at.
Oh,
Because he was coming and buying licorice at our booth, and that's when she got us. I'm
I
pretty
see.
sure.
Okay. So fast forward now to where you're at now, and then we'll go through how you got to where you're at. Where are you at now with her?
So 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks and a couple days at the Sunday show, we had a really difficult conversation. And it was difficult because my daughter does not like this guy. She's 11 years old. She's very wise and smart. And her mom is always open and been talking to her since February. Like she's known the whole time that mom wanted a divorce. And I didn't. That if she meets the new guy, she's going to make sure that she's not going to date somebody that she doesn't like and this and that. And then so Saturday night, Razel in desperation reminded her mom, you promised me you wouldn't date a guy I don't like. And so she was desperately looking to blame me for poisoning my daughter against this guy. And there was one moment that, I had broke down and I expressed my feelings about this guy after weeks and weeks. I'm like, so I told her my concerns because like one of the things he did is they're meeting up in parking lots, right? They're in my truck in the back of the back seat with my 11-year-old daughter in front making out. And I'm like, a guy like that, you really think a guy like that's got any kind of moral standing? I let it all out one day. And my daughter heard all of this. But that was only like I'd say 5 days, 7 days before this difficult conversation we had. But my daughter had been coming to me for weeks and weeks and weeks, just venting about this guy and how much she hates him and stuff like that. And Gwen knows that. So she knows already the timeline doesn't make sense for what she's trying to say to me on the Sunday. And so I didn't react a lot. I just I let her tell me, you're poison. I said, well, I know why you feel that way. And I understand why you would want to feel that way. You don't want to believe that it's true. And I get it. That's got to be really tough on you. And I went through the whole thing and finally got her to calm down. So, but let's talk about the timeline a little bit. And when is it that I told Razel about this? When did I actually blow up? Because I kept it to myself a long time before I blew up. I didn't mention any of that stuff out of respect for you. Those were my thoughts. And she's like, well, it happened this time. I said, she's been coming to me for a week. And then she's like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. And so she immediately realized that it wasn't me. And then almost like a light switch, in about half an hour from that, we got along like best friends the whole rest of the day. And it's been like that for 2 weeks.
Wow. Wait,
She
how long ago was this incident?
2 weeks and 2 days. It was at the Sunday market 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We've had two Sundays at that market since that conversation.
Right.
She's stopped bringing my daughter around him when she does go and see him. She's seen him the 1 week she spent the night at a hotel with him and left us here alone. But she came home because my daughter was freaking out and I had to leave the house because my daughter was like, hey, is he okay with this? Is he okay with what he's doing to your daughter? Like my daughter is so fucking mature. It breaks my heart that she has to be this mature. My daughter, I took her on a ski trip by myself. And she went and stayed at a hotel with him when I went to that's what she does. Because one of my boundaries is he doesn't come here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stay out of your way. I'm not prying. I'm not trying, but he doesn't come here. And so she's honoring that boundary. She goes out and he can't take her to his house because he's got some roommate that's older than his. I don't know what the whole story is, but he can't have Gwen over to his house. He's such a loser, but which helps me,
Yeah, I'm wondering what is the next like stage for you that you're trying to progress toward, like having her stop seeing this guy, or?
Well, I want her back. I mean, that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know strategy wise. Like, the resentment switch has happened. She doesn't resent me. She's in this. She's actually so impressed with my progress that my dad's 80th birthday was on Saturday. A whole bunch of crap happened. My niece, my 20-year-old niece, her boyfriend broke up with her and was all distraught. So I left my wife. I left Gwen at the market, at the farmer's market, and I drove to Vegas an hour and a half, picked her up, came back just to take care of my niece. And then we're at my dad's house at his 80th birthday party with everybody. And I'm like, okay, Gwen, it's probably about time I take you and Razel home so I can take Jesse back to Vegas. And so I'm not looking forward to this drive. I'm really tired. She's like, well, I could drive you. And so she drove, and that's out of character. And so she drove me down. And on the way back, she's asking me questions. She's like, so in your course, like, because she's all about being very specific. Vague things don't work for her. She wants to know specifically what in my course has helped me change so much. And then, so I tried to tell her, well, mainly what I'm trying to tell her is that the course got me to pay attention to myself and to start working on myself, which means looking outside the course for those mechanisms that will do that, whether it's meditation or understanding the psyche and like with the book that I was recommended, the Untethered Soul, that came from one of the men in the group and this and that. So it was the outside looking and working on myself that's done the most change, but it was directed, like that activity was directed. So I try to explain that to her, but I told her, well, first of all, the course is mostly about me regaining my manhood and being a man and owning myself. And that just can set her off because so at one point early on, I had showed her the home improvement committee, the one where you break down the community. Oh, that makes her mad, Josh. She does not like you, bro.
Oh, why is that? I'm curious.
Because she's like, she has this huge sensitivity because she doesn't see herself as feminine at all. She sees herself as masculine and logical and analytical and thought out, and that she doesn't dress up like a girl, like she's not very feminine. I know better because when I met her, I brought that out of her, but she doesn't see that. because when I met her, I had already gone through like a bunch of David D'Angelo courses and stuff, and I had a very long streak of dating success, and I understood woman on that level. The David, like the superior man, that's all the quotes you're saying. I've got the book. I had it way before our marriage.
Sure.
What surprises me is how much I forgot. Like I lost all of that. It all went away, and I was blindsided when it started coming. So I think I had a little advantage in the course when that started coming back up. You just reminded me of somewhere I'd been before. So I went right straight back to the confidence and that kind of stuff. And that's helped a lot. Because even the day after that incident, when she told me, it was the next that Sunday, that Monday, she stayed after work. She slept with him the first time, and she came home, and I could just tell. But while she was gone, because I finally knew about the guy, my daughter tested me all day while she was gone with him, telling me everything that they've been doing the last couple of weeks. She told me about how they would meet in the parking lot at the Dollar General. She told me how he laid in the back seat and covered up when they went to my dad's house to pick up my coffee cup that I had left there. Like, my daughter was telling me everything. I kept telling her, stop. Your mom's going to be upset with you telling me. You can't keep that's your mom's trust. Don't trust. So I'm trying to console my daughter, and she's not listening because she's enjoying me not reacting. My kid's falling in love with me because I'm passing all the tests.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first thing she told her mom when I walked in. Mom, you should have seen him. I told him everything. He was so my kid has been my biggest ally, even though I try to keep her out of it, which is really interesting. But I looked right at her and I said, and this is the day before I joined the coaching course. This is one of the things I said. So this is pretty real, isn't it? And she looked right at me and says, yeah, it's pretty real. I've never felt so open with anybody in my life, even you. And I was like, oh, fuck me, man. Shit, that hit hard. And I just stood there and I said one needy thing, kind of as well. I said, I get that you feel that way. And I know you can't remember when we were first together like I do, but I remember it different. I remember you felt that way about me. And then I left it like that. And then I don't know, it was a few moments later, we're still in the kitchen. She's piddling around, and I looked right at her and I said, you know what, Gwen? I just smiled and I gave her my crooked, confident smile. Says, I'm not worried. I'm going to win you back. And I saw the blood rush to her face, and it hit her. And then, so we had like a day of flirting. Like I said a couple of things, and I was out the door after that because she had come home that Monday, and then I left to go work. One of the reasons why I do DoorDash is because she can come home and then I can leave and I can give her space. And next morning, she's in here bringing me coffee. This is the day after she slept with him. She's in here bringing me coffee in the morning and sitting on the bed. And she opened up about another thing that we had talked about and stuff. And then before she left for work, I just looked at her with my crooked smile again. She said, you know exactly what you're doing, don't you? I said, you're damn right I do. I ain't going to stop. So I came at it from the get-go with a lot of confidence and presence. And I had a little bit of a slip up after that because her pattern is when she gets close to me like that is she's going to withdraw.
Mm.
But knowing that pattern, I've been able to anticipate it and not react to it. And so other than a few mishaps this whole time, I've just stayed in my frame, stayed confident, and it's done a lot. And now I know for a fact that the resentment switch has happened. But at the same time, she's not stopping plans with him. She's still trying to look for a piece of property. She got in her fantasy. She's going to find an acre of land and move a little tiny house on it, like basically a shed with a, water hall. And he's got no resources. And, I know he's acting needy and all that stuff. I know it can't last because he doesn't believe in God or souls.
Mm.
And she does. Like, I mean, I've got her book, Sacred Contracts right here. You know what I mean? And we've been basically the last week, especially since Saturday, since she opened up and that court, like I told you, how she said she doesn't like it. Well, she said, well, how does he know about math? I said, listen, he's not talking about women or men so much as he's talking about masculine and feminine. That's how I had to reframe it. I said, in that conversation on the Home Improvement Committee, we could be reversed because I can tend to be feminine sometimes. I could be the one trying to vent and you trying to.
I'm even confident. I talked about this in the course. So I had a couple in college and I saw that the man was a lot more feminine, the woman was more masculine, but there was that balance there.
Right.
Talk.
And most of the time I'm not feminine, but a lot of times when we're interacting emotionally, I can be the feminine one, and she's the the more masculine one.
I have
So
feminine. I
I
have
had
feminine
to,
traits myself, Drayden. Like
yeah.
like yeah.
So I
I'm in
had to
like
reframe
working
that. And
with emotions and people. You know.
well, the point of this story is that after I got past that initial resistance towards the manliness and this and that, and I got to explain to her what that means, I finally was able to say, listen, I'm not going to apologize. I am a man and I'm proud of being a man. And this course is helping me remember what it's like to be a good one. And I'm not going to apologize for it.
Mm.
And I said, I'm sorry that works out negative feelings towards your own identity in masculine and feminine, and that's fine, but understand I know how you are, and I know that when I'm going through this course. So when he's talking about things that are ultra feminine, I know he's talking about somebody different than you. I know you, and I work this program around how you are because I care about you and you matter. And
Yeah.
so after we got past that, then we got to the crux of it. She wanted to know basically techniques. What am I doing so well to get past this subconscious programming? Because that's the thing that she's working on with her personal school, is how to erase these feelings of not feeling good enough and her own trauma and stuff. And she's a little bit jealous because she sees how I'm just flying through this stuff and just making close that. Please close that door. Thank you. I'll come talk to you in a few minutes, okay?
Oreo, come here.
Come on. Love you. That's my daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drayden, with
So,
the time
yeah.
we have remaining, I guess I want to just a couple questions I have is
Okay.
I love hearing your story and like the transformation you've had so far and like the path you're going is just like on the up. What has been the biggest win? It doesn't have to be necessarily with your wife, it could be, but like what is the biggest win you've had since coming into the course?
Just finding myself again. I mean, I was there before. I've done lots of self-improvement before. The biggest win is realizing that it can go away if you don't continue to work on yourself. You can't get complacent in life's journey. And finding her and settling into that, somehow I lost that, and like discovering that possibility and knowing how to not let that happen again is the biggest win, I guess. Is just, everybody's on their life journey. Some people are more advanced than others. I feel, blessed and confident that I've done pretty well in my life. And it was a pretty big falling into that paradigm that I was in. But my biggest win is just remembering and getting back on track.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man.
And it's energizing, because I always loved myself before. So learning that again is very freeing.
Yeah. And recognizing that, like, as much as you do want to fight to get her back, because if she's so important to you, it's knowing that this is more about you.
It is. Yeah. I texted her this morning. I don't know what the future holds for us. But I'll always view you as a gift either way.